Hello and welcome everyone to Galactic Gumbo, the kind of nerd topic show where we discuss everything from Transformers comics, movies, pop culture, Star Wars, Transformers, all that good stuff. So basically all the stuff you can kind of see around our, our background, stuff like that. That's what we're going to be talking about. We have quite a few interesting topics to talk about. We're going to talk about some cons, talk about some toys, movies. I think a little bit of comics on there as well. We're going to cover hauls. So let's go ahead and jump into introductions first, though. Mike, where can people find you? And go ahead and tell them about your convention.
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter as BlackConfan1978 and here on YouTube as Autobot City Toys with a Z. Also, I am the owner and promoter of Little Rock Comic Con in Arkansas, where we will have a pretty good lineup this year here in 3 weeks. So be sure to check that out if you're in the area. You can find me on lrcomiccon.com, and then you can find us on Facebook as Little Rock Comic Con as well.
All right, and what about you, Rick?
And you can find me exclusively on Twitter as Shatrdglassjazz.
And you can find me on at G1Hextron on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and my Facebook page is the G1Hextron. So let's go ahead and get into hauls. I guess quite a bit to cover there. Mike, do you want to go ahead and kick that off?
Yeah, really, let's see. On G.I. Joe, I've gotten in my figure subscription, spoiler, scoop, and ambush, if you didn't already know. And then also, I picked up a couple of Star Wars figures. We were talking about this off air. I'm actually going to collect the 40th line, which is the cardback 6-inch series. I've gotten Layla and R2-D2. I have picked up the, since we were in Dallas, Josh, I picked up the Battle Force 2000 figures, G.I. Joe. And I picked up a few pops that we don't consider as action figures, but I did pick up some interesting ones of Power Rangers. And then for another spoiler for you people who don't know, the latest wave of a Transformers subscription service hit this past week, which was both Pretender shells, Optimus and Megatron both came in the mail this past Thursday.
All right. What about you, Rick?
I've got the Hot Toys, Force Awakens, Han and Chewie. I finally bit the bullet and got a vintage Cobra Night Raven. That's probably one of the coolest things I've bought this year so far. I got a 2011 Sky Striker with Ace. I got the Fun Pub Joe Club Cobra Girls 3-pack. And then I also got the sub figures, the Ambush and the Scoop. I also picked up a subscription service, Psych Out. He's often featured in the comics, so I felt like I needed to get him on the shelf. And then the Masterpiece Megatrons. I think it's been a while since we did Gumbo, so I have that on there. The Fun Pub Pretenders that Mike just spoke about, they came and they are glorious. I think they're up there with the Dragon Megatron as the best stuff that they've ever offered. I also picked up some DC icons, just a few, Deathstroke and Cyborg. I also picked up the Star Wars Black Series, the carded 40th Anniversary Series 1. I picked up Batman Animated, the Dark Knight 3-pack. And I've been picking up stands for all these Joe vehicles that some of them I've had for years, but it's a company called Flux Dimensions. And I've had a lot of people asking me about it as I've posted pictures on Twitter. So again, it's Flux Dimensions, and they make stands for Star Wars vehicles as well as G.I. Joe and I think even Star Trek. But they give you options too. You can get like a landing stand for the Night Raven or the Rattler, or like a takeoff or a flight, just different versions of the stands. It's a really cool way to find like a new appreciation for vintage vehicles and modern vehicles too. Some of the flight stands fit the modern stuff as well.
That's cool. Let's see. For me, I ended up getting the Walmart exclusive 2-pack, the Ultimate Spider-Man, and Vulture. Ended up getting the DC Multiverse by Mattel, the Batgirl. Ended up getting 4 of the Target exclusive AT-ACT drivers from Rogue One. Got the Titans Return 6-shot. I got the Titans Returns little fast lane. I got the Black Series Sabine. Ended up getting the Masterpiece Megatron. I got the Titans Return Broadside. I actually already sold that. I got the Marvel Legends Carnage. Finally found that. I got the GameStop exclusive R5. I've got the 40th anniversary R2 just because it's a little bit different. And I got the 40th anniversary for Star Wars Princess Leia because it's different as well. So, and that's basically all I can remember. That's all I took pictures of for Instagram. So that's kind of how I keep track of it.
Yeah.
Didn't you get the what is that? Did you mention the other unit, the Star Wars unit, the GameStop one?
Yeah, R5.
R5. Okay, I was just wondering. I didn't know if I heard that.
Red. Yeah. So, got those. Yeah, I think he's actually called R5D4. So
yeah, I'm still trying to find that one.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into some topics, because we didn't get to do Galactic Gumbo, or at least Rick and I did, because we were at a Fan Expo Dallas. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry.
Gosh, he does it all the time.
I know. Let's see. So we're gonna talk a little bit about cons. So the first one is going to a con. Which is better, buying off eBay or paying inflated prices at a con? And that's not to say that eBay doesn't always have inflated prices, because they do, but on eBay you have multiples to choose from there. You can look at the quality, as far as the pictures, show you, but it's more competition because there's several of them, selling them there right online, and you can go there. Where at a con, they do have to pay for tables. They do have to pay for their gas to make it to the trip, and there's a lot of stuff they have to pay for. Plus, it's a business. They're there to make money, but when is it too much? So, what do you guys do? Because usually me, it has to be a really good price at the con, because I'm not really going to pay a ton over retail. Like we ran into that one guy that had a Darth Revan. And what was he asking? Like 45 or 50 bucks for it?
I think it was $40. He was wanting for it.
Yeah, like $45. I mean, that's 25 over retail. I tried to talk him down just a little bit, and he wouldn't budge even $1. And I was like, yeah, no thanks. Like these haven't shown up at any of my stores yet. I got to think eventually maybe they will. But I ended up getting one through Mike, so it worked out, and another Sabine, so. It worked out for me.
Yep, I got yours right here.
Sweet.
Yeah, I have to agree. As being a promoter for a convention, I mean, I've always had the rule of thumb of making sure that the dealers got a good deal on the booths, because you want them to keep the prices within reason to your customers, to where the customers continue coming to your shows because they're like, oh yeah, that dealer gave me a good deal, blah blah blah. And that's always a big deal, is that you want the dealers to give good deals on stuff, because in the end, they don't want to take this stuff home with them. They want to unload it at these shows. Granted, if it's not mine, it's any show they go to, ByCon, JoeCon, San Diego, New York, any of them whatsoever. So, I mean, you got to make it to where, granted, you got to think on some dealers that come from out of state, they have to spend their gas, their hotel, their food, to where your in-state guys, they're within driving distance. They'll just drive home for the night. So all they're out is gas and a couple of value meals at McDonald's or something, and, some dealers will give a good deal. Some dealers, I know at my show you can haggle with, but, like when we went to Dallas, there was really no haggling at all. With some dealers, there, like when me and Josh went to talk to that one guy with that Darth Revan, Josh said it perfectly. The guy would not budge not $1 off that price. And he was the only dealer in the whole entire place that had a Dark Revan. And he knew if he was the only one that he can get top dollar from somebody who's going to pay it.
Someone will eventually pay it.
Exactly. Someone will eventually pay because they're not going to want to spend the time in gas or looking for it. And they'll be like, screw it. I'll pay the extra $20 or whatever it is over cost and be done with it. And that's some of the problems in high demand items for any line you go to: Star Wars, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, anything like that, Ninja Turtles. If it's that one specific item and you can't find it nowhere, and you go to a con and one or two dealers have it and that's it, then you're pretty much, if you're like, I'm tired of looking for it, then you're going to have to bite the bullet and just get it off a dealer, because if you go through eBay, you're going to have to take in the factor you're going to pay for shipping. So even though let's say you got the item for $35, but you pay for it $40 at a con, but you might have to pay $10, $15 to get it to your house. So you're actually over on, on eBay versus a con. Any way you look at it, you're going to pay more because you got to add. Me personally, I factor in shipping as a cost of an item when I buy something for myself. Some people don't.
Now, here's one of the things, because eBay or Amazon or any of these other toy websites and stuff like that, because here was the point: the guy wanted $45, and I knew that I could pay more. Like Amazon right now, you can go buy it, $31.13, free shipping. That's not that crazy, of a price, with the shipping and everything. I mean, you're paying basically $11 over retail, where he wanted $25 over retail. So I mean, that's where I thought the price that he was asking was a lot more than what I could just go, or I could order it online right in front of you on my phone, so it's for you not to budge a little bit. But some people like Dakota, I know that for a while, he, whenever it came to BotCon, for a couple months, any of the stuff that he wanted to buy online and was going to buy online, he wouldn't, because he's like, I want money for the con and I'll just buy it at the con, because I don't know. To me, I'm like, look, I'm going to get it either way. So whether I buy it at the con and then now I have to figure out a way to ship all this stuff back to me, or I can just have it shipped to me, at a cheaper price or maybe even free. But that's something that he likes to do. He likes to buy his stuff at the convention.
It makes it worth your while to go to a convention. You don't want to go to a convention and be the window shopper. You want to take something back from that experience. Like Rick, for example, I know when he goes to JoeCon in less than 60 days, he wants to find a Defiant, because he's going in his vehicle. He's going to put that in the back of the truck and take it on to the house.
I wish that won't happen.
You never know.
I would love to. Love to, but
you never know. I mean, depending on what you're going to pay shipping wise. I mean, I see Dakota's what he did. I'm the same way, because I kind of want to find it and have it in hand right then, play with it at the con. Because some items, even though you see it online and you see the reviews, or you do what we do, we talk about on podcasts, but it's more the fact of, I want it in my hand. I want to fiddle with it for a second and decide whether that's something I want, because you do not know 100% what you are buying off of eBay. You can be buying either the best thing in the world or the biggest piece of junk you ever seen in your life.
Yeah, that's a good point, because so my perspective on cons is a little bit different too, and I have a pretty specific process for how I figure out where I'm going to buy all the different range of crap that I obtain. When I go to a con, and I don't go often. Like BotCon used to be my annual con, because Transformers is my main hobby, not my only hobby, but my main one. So when I go to a convention or a BotCon, whether it's this year at JoeCon, a lot of the stuff that I'm looking to bring back is vintage stuff. And like you just said, being able to see vintage stuff in person is super important if you're talking about Transformers or even G.I. Joe for that matter. Once you get in on a figure, you're looking at like especially if it's vintage stuff, which that's what I do at cons. I usually am not buying stuff that's come out in the last year or 6 months. I'm always looking to go backwards and pick up stuff that I can't really find easily on eBay. So I'm looking at like if it's a Pretender, I'm looking to see if the plastic is starting to mold or decay a little bit, because Pretenders will do that, and you got to be careful. I'm looking at all the nooks and crannies, the scratches on the shell. I'm looking at the inside and the robot that's in there and the stickers that are on it. There are lots of little detailed things. You're looking at like Japanese stuff. Like last BotCon, I've been wanting to get a Galaxy shuttle for a long time. But if you're looking at eBay, I don't trust it, because with Photoshop, I can take a Galaxy shuttle and that picture, it could be yellow. I can make it supremely white with a Photoshop. It's easy. So I never trust what I'm seeing vintage-wise on eBay. But in person, I was able to go to the table. I knew the vendor, knew it was a reputable vendor. I talked to him before, and I was pretty sure he was going to have it. And he had like two different ones. And I was able to pick it up. He'd let me open it, let me look through the packaging and all those things. So, and I know the prices going in. To me, like when you're going to a con, there's at least 3 weeks worth of research. For us, like we're collecting this stuff all the time, so I already have an idea. But I do like to go in and make a little list. And when I'm going to the con, I know actually what it's going. Always make a list of what it's going for on eBay, what it's been going for the last 30 days on eBay. And what I've seen it for before, or what I know like friends have paid for if it's a big item. So when I'm going, I'm not looking for, whether it's like a Black Series, you guys are talking about like a Black Series example. I'm usually not looking for that. I'm looking for something that you can't get anywhere else really, right, where you feel trustworthy to spend money on like vintage toys. So I would prefer to buy everything at a con if I had that luxury. But, being able to take vacation time or having cons that are close to you and inexpensive to attend, that factors into it. And you talk about like Amazon or eBay. Amazon, if you're already a Prime member, Josh talked about the free shipping. That's huge. Also, if you're buying like trades, like trade paperbacks, like a $19 book, sometimes you can get it for $11 with free shipping. I mean, I'm going to do Amazon every single time when it comes to like trade paperbacks, every time.
Right.
And Black Series figures, a lot of times I'll wait until I have reward points. And with free shipping, I can get like a Black Series figure that's kind of recent, but I haven't been able to find it in the store. I can usually end up getting that dirt cheap through Amazon too. eBay, I still like eBay, but the only reason is because there's not cons that are close. eBay is always second choice for me. I'd rather always pick the item up. I've talked to a lot of like friends locally that are into different, there's not a lot of people locally that like all the same things that I do, but we all collect something. And whenever I talk to people, especially like our age, between that age of like 28 and 50, all men that I'm mostly talking to, everybody says the same thing. And that is, I wish there was a store where we could go and pick this stuff up and look at it or see it on display before we make a big purchase. And you can't do that. Locally, all of our toy shows have dried up. They dried up in the late 90s here in Virginia, at least where I'm at. There are a few comic book shows. We get Wizard World, but I don't count that for toy collecting. They don't have a whole lot except for Pops.
Jesus, don't get me on the Pops, man.
Dude, I've never seen so many Pops in my life. Every vendor had
at least
Pop figures. Those one that had nothing but them, and just it was basically like they had wall to wall, like bigger than this master room here, where it was just Pops all over.
Easily, when we went to Dallas, easily throughout the whole dealer room, I BS you not, there must at least have been 1 million Pops total. I mean, it's like every booth and they had hundreds of them. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was like a damn pop convention is all it was. I mean, granted, Dallas had some cool stuff, some cool toys. We saw some really cool vintage older X-Men toys, some other items. I mean, it was like
one that had loose stuff, carded stuff,
right.
It was all pretty cool. I know that Mike and we ended up talking to this one guy about his G.I. Joe stuff for a while, and he had all kinds of stuff.
That's where I actually picked up the 5 of the 6 Battle Force 2000s at. Where I picked up from. That was actually, I think, really the only toy item I picked up was the 5 of the 6 Battle Force 2000 figures, so I can do my review for JoeCon here in a couple of months. But yeah, I mean, we actually, I think Josh talked to that dude for quite a while I was rummaging through stuff.
Yeah, he was a bigger guy, and he was telling me how he has he cosplays, is it the Gamorrean Guard? What's the pig?
Oh yeah, the Gamorrean Guard.
Gamorrean Guard, yeah. He cosplays as that and stuff. So
yeah. Let me tell you what, this con we went to, you saw nothing but pops and lifesavers. There were so many lifesavers there, it was not even funny. You would look over there in Mark Hamill's line, and there must have been 100 lifesavers up in the air. I mean, throughout the dealer room, they were selling them, making them, whatever the case may be. I've never in my life seen so many lifesavers in my life.
There's a company, I believe, in Dallas too that does like third-party style lightsabers too.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're cheaper than what you'd pay for like this one over here, like the Kylo Ren one. Like that one's $200, right. But like you could put one of theirs together for like, let's say a Kylo Ren for like 120 or something like that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I had a great time in Dallas. I mean, compared to BotCon, JoeCon, and local cons here in Arkansas, I mean, that one there was like insane. There was like, I mean, elbows and assholes in there, man. I mean, it was like anywhere you went, you ran into somebody trying to get through something. So I mean, it was. Yeah. It was a good experience. I mean, I actually look forward to doing it again, just because of the sheer fact of the guest lineup and the oddball stuff you would see that you wouldn't normally see. For me in Arkansas, you wouldn't see anywhere else.
There was this funny thing. I know we're getting off topic here, but that there was a snow speeder on display there, which was, obviously miniature down, but they had it like with a backdrop and this one, like I forget who it was, but this one fan that I said, is that like the actual snow speeder? Like, is that like the true scale? And I'm like, are you looking what I'm looking at? I mean, that's like half the size. Like maybe a child could fit in there, I'm like, it looked good, but it was obviously not a 1:1 scale.
Right. The good thing about Dallas Fan Expo was I saw the most interaction, and I hate to even say this because I'm not 100% fan of it, was actually Star Wars. I mean, the interaction you got with the 501st down there and everything they had set up was the most interaction between fan and Star Wars, period. I mean, Josh was all over that between the R2 units. He talked to a few people. We took a few pictures.
Free pictures too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Between that and anything else you went to that cost money, Star Wars was, if I was a Star Wars fan like you two guys are, I probably would have had a heart attack. I mean, that's how good it was. It was take a picture in a prison cell with a couple of troopers. I mean, there was a lot of different things. It was good for the Star Wars fandom, especially with Mark Hamill being there. It was good. It was very good. So I can say that the people who were behind the Star Wars, the 501st, and everything that was there was well better than anything else throughout that convention. in my opinion.
All right. So going back to the topic,
here's one other like bullet point for why
Okay.
cons are better than eBay. This is another reason. If I'm at a con and I go in with my list and I've got 3 items and the one dealer has them all, if all the items are like 150, like if I'm looking at like Pretenders and then there's a Japanese something I want and it's like 300. If you go in and you tell that dealer like up front, I'm talking about day one in the first 30 minutes that the dealer room is open. Doesn't have to be a Sunday when everything closes down. You go in and you know the guy after a while. The Transformers community is fairly small. I knew this guy and I bought 3 items and he took $75 off the total price because I was spending a certain amount of money. The best you can get on eBay is like get them all to ship it in the same box and hope it doesn't get damaged on its way to you. So at a convention, you can talk to dealers, and if you're buying like big ticket items and he knows he sees you year after year, because most of the cons are annual events, you can get good prices and while you're still looking at them and stuff. On eBay, when I've bought from the same person multiple times, I will go outside of eBay. And there's always ways. I'll say, look, I've bought like 3 or 4 of these things. I'm trying to complete the set. Do you have the other 3? Can I just PayPal you like right now? Yeah, that's the best you can hope for, is like going on the DL and trying to, talk to someone. eBay doesn't want you doing that. They track your email addresses and all those things. They'll stop you if they catch you. But you can do it. But I hate having to like go all these backwards ways to try to do what's just decent.
It's funny you should mention that on
you go on the dark web.
Yeah.
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 A lot of other things you can find on that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to kind of the second part of this because it's kind of the same thing. But con dealers not putting prices on everything. Do you ask every time, or do you just kind of stay away from them? And why do you think they do it? This happened, where I can go in and if there's several things that I'm looking for, I pre-order everything. So normally it's just, as the pre-order fills, then that's when it's come in and then I'll decide when to ship it, So even though there were things there that I knew they were selling, some figures, I'm like, well, you guys are trying to, I got them pre-ordered for like $23 and then shipping because I have so much stuff is only like an extra 50 cents. There's no tax on it. And then you guys have it for, 28 or 30 plus tax, I'm just going to stick with my pre-order. But let's say if there was multiple things that I wanted to buy or even big ticket items and stuff like that, do you stay away from these people that don't put prices on everything, or at least some of their stuff, that would be like kind of common questions, to where, hey, how much is this? Because there was several people there that no prices on anything. And so like you had to, and it's like Mike said, it was busy. Like you can't even walk anywhere. You're always almost stepping on somebody and they're stepping on you. It's hard to maneuver around, especially whenever a booth that has a lot of cool stuff. Everyone's going to it and you're sitting here trying to ask this guy like 5 different things. What's the price on this? Well, it's this price, it's like, all right, well, let's think about that. And, if I knew what all the prices were, I could put all 5 items together or however many it is. And then, we could haggle a little bit, be like, hey, I'm buying all 5. And let's say if I saw that they were $200 and I said, hey, let's do it for 170, maybe he comes back at 180 and we do the deal. Then if you had all the prices on stuff, I'd be able to, figure that out a little bit better and how I'm going to buy my stuff. But because you don't, I'm not going to ask you how much is this, how much is this, how much is this, how much is this,
Right.
I'm just like done with it. Like I won't mess with you.
Here's what I can speak on both sides of this because as being a dealer and a promoter, I tell even when I set up as a dealer, before I got as big as I am, I would not price a lot of my stuff. because I want that customer to interact with me. I want them to start a conversation with me. I want them to come by and say, and just like you said, I want them to say, hey, how much is that? And me personally, I know what I have in it. I know what I want out of it. So I would tell the customer, what are you willing to pay for it? What is your dollar amount? And that's where you just start your haggling right then and there. Because if you have a price on something, let's take, for example, Princess Leia. Let's say let's just say $40, okay, because Princess Leia, because she's passed away or whatever the case may be. But then you're kind of like, okay, they see $40 and they walk around and another dealer has it for $30. But they didn't have a tag on it, but they asked them how much it was. And they said, okay, $30. Well, then that guy's going to pay, $30. I'd rather haggle at first, knowing what I have in it. If I know let's say I have $20 in it and I'm only out to make a $10 profit, then I know that where my line is, and that I'd rather not price anything and talk to somebody versus them see the price and keep on walking by.
Well, I think that like even if you had it listed at 40, I think that if someone, I like you saw with me, like I just, I wouldn't even talk to the people. Hey, can I help, answer any questions for you? Well, I have several questions, but I'm not going to sit here and talk to you for 5 minutes. So I'm just going to keep on going.
Well, a lot of the places we went to, I mean, what you were looking for was Revan, and what else was it? Was that it, Revan?
And Carnage, which I actually picked up.
Right. So, I mean, when we went to each booth we went to, and even when we got separated, both of us was doing the same thing. Carnage and a Revan. And, of course, everybody was no on Revan, except for that one guy we found.
And nobody had Carnage.
No one even had it. They're like, no. I mean, I was honestly surprised that we did not see a Carnage anywhere whatsoever. I could not believe.
But even if, like I said, if I was looking for multiple items, the thing is I'm not going to waste my time having 5-minute conversations with every single dealer. I'm going to go to the ones that put their prices on stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's about what I'm willing to pay, but let's, here's what, and because I want to present it as a lot. I don't want to each individual item, hey, will you take this with this? No, let's do that. Okay, so that's a deal. No, I want to present it as I'm buying all this. You got it listed at this. Can we make a deal here?
Right. I understand where you're coming on that. I mean, but from the dealer standpoint of view, as me being a dealer and promoter, because I tell them, you don't want to, let's say that there's 3 dealers in there that have a G1 Scorpionox. And I have seen this happen. And I mean, I could not believe my eyes when it happened. It was at my show where 2 guys both had a G1 Scorpionox. They both had their price in their head on what they wanted. And they weren't that far from each other. And when someone said, hey, how much do you have on that G1 Scorpionox? And I honestly think they said $350, and the guy who was like 2 tables down said, "Hey, I got one for $325." So I mean that's what you're going to run into at a lot of cons where people are going to. I mean that's why you.
Okay, here's one last thing, and then I'm going to let Rick go.
Okay, I talked too much. I'm sorry.
All right, like you just mentioned, the 2 Scorpionox and the 2 booths right beside each other, and not wanting to have prices. I look at that. It should be competition because we all know what we're there for. You know what we came to buy, and we know what you're there to sell. That's the same thing as 2 gas stations right across from each other. If one lowers their price, the other one lowers their price, usually to the exact same amount. You see them. You see one person. They used to go out there with signs, with the little things where they would, reach up and change the signs. Now that it's all electronic and stuff like that. But you would see one person go out there on the sign, and you're all right. So I'll fill up there with gas. Before you're done filling up your tank, you can look over at the other gas station. They done sent someone out there to go change their signs. You know, so I don't want you to not show me how much it is, and then I have to go to both gas stations and be like, how much is gas here per gallon? You know,
You're 100%. That's
I want to
100% right.
advertise right there, and then I can be like, all right, this actually, whatever. If there's some better fuel than this other company, and you're the same price, then I'll, you know, that's what I'm going to do. So, or if it's a better fuel, where, you know, I guess you guys know, you know, there's some, you know, fuels that are better and stuff. They're better, but they're a little bit more. I'm willing to do that. Just advertise for me so I can see and I can make my best decision then. I don't want to waste time circling around all the block, you know, trying to figure out, you know, what all the gas prices are. So they're just analogy. It might be a good one or bad one, but that's the way I kind of look at it. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, no, I understand. I think this is, again, it's all about what it is that you're there at the con to pick up. If I'm after a Star Wars Black Series guy from like the last 2 years, or a Marvel Legend figure from like the last 2 years, there is no way in the world I'm going to walk up and ask each booth what the price is. The recent figures that probably there's more than one at the con, they should have prices. No questions. It should, whether it's $40 price sticker, something on the table that says this is what it is for the recent stuff. If you're talking about like let's say like a Grand Maximus, I'm sorry, if there's two of them in the room, the price, first of all, it's probably going to be dead center in your table because it's your prize piece. Usually they'll have a price attached to that. Almost always, if it's a transformer that's rare and there's only two in the whole dealer room, usually they'll have a price next to it. Now, this is where my expectations kind of go down based on my experiences. If there's a table and they have 50 box vintage transformers, but there's a secondary table that has really nice C9 open complete transformers, but there's like 200 of those. I'm used to 50% of the dealers not having the price on those. And if you're going into the show and you've done your research, you know which ones are hard to find. For whatever reason, I keep going back to Pretenders because they got really hard to find at the last few BotCons. Excuse me. And I noticed that finding, there was a few of them. I noticed that like over the course of maybe a decade, they were really drying up, and it was hard to find like C9 open complete versions of those things. So I would haggle, and I would want to know more about it. So I would obviously ask. Usually if you're looking for things like that and you can't see the back of them, you're going to ask anyway. You're going to ask the dealer, hey, can I look at that? Can I put my hands on it and look at it and check it out and see where the scrapes and all those intricate details are? And once you do that, then you're already interacting, like kind of what Mike was saying. You're already interacting with the dealer. So it's not a big deal to say, you know, how much for this? But my expectations are just based on kind of my experiences at cons. Again, if it's something new, there's no way in the world I'm going to spend that amount of time to get the information. I want to know that straight up. But I understand if you have 200 loose transformers, and this is the other thing, usually there's a dealer, the main dealer, the business owner, that usually is also a collector. And he's kind of like the brains of the outfit. Sometimes your staff people, whether it's a wife, and we know from BotCons, a lot of times the girlfriends or a wife, or even just a staff person that you have from maybe your comic store back home, they're not usually as knowledgeable, usually, as the dealer or the owner of the business. So a lot of times you're dealing with people that they're like, hey, wait a minute, I got to track down Dave over here, you know, and usually you wait. So I've waited 5 minutes sometimes because it was so backed up. If it's a rare item, to have that interaction with the dealer. But again, it's all about what you're after at the con for me.
Right. And, you know, it's funny you should mention that when you talk about the main dealer of the con. You know, when we go to JoeCon in a couple of months, same thing. There's that one dealer who has, I'm not lying to you, he has everything. And I guarantee you, a good chunk of the stuff is not priced. I mean, he'll have his O-rings in the front that are like 3 for $10 or something like that, and then all the lines. I mean, everybody who knows that, his name's Chris. people who know he's going to be there, that's exactly where they flock to first. Everybody goes there first because they know he will have the best deals, period, hands down. It depends on what con you go to nationwide. If you're used to going to Comic-Con X and you know vendor B, then you know that everybody and their brother is going to go there first. That's just the nature of the beast, and that's just how it is.
Peter's saying, negotiating tactics, like always make the first offer,
That's been hard for me because I hate making an offer on somebody else's product. For me as a collector, I hate to do that because you don't want to insult that person, but I mean, they're kind of there to make the money. So
I'm not really concerned with I'm not calling you names or anything like that, insulting you, but I kind of calculate okay, here's what retail is. Like the Darth Revan figure, I knew it was like $31, free shipping or whatever on Amazon, and I'm thinking, all right, he wants 45 for it. I'm like, hey, will you do 35? Because I'm thinking, and I thought that was a reasonable offer. That's 15, because if you found it in store, you paid 20 for it. Maybe plus tax, so $22 for it. I'm giving you a $13. That's more than 50%. That's at let's see, how much is that? Like over 60% increase over what you paid for it. That's a pretty nice profit. So I'm like, hey, I'll give you 35, and the guy's like, nope, I'm not going a dollar under 45, because I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, I think that was a legitimate offer, because this is a figure that it's not one that's like Anakin or Darth Maul that were one of the very first waves, and those figures go over $100, and you can't find them for less than that. R2 used to be the same thing until it came out with this 40th anniversary. It was over $100 figure. But those were also wave 1 and wave 2 type figures, when the line first started a few years ago.
Right. And it's funny you should mention, we actually walked down a few booths and we turned around and went back up there. And you asked, because you kept asking me if what you think you'd take it. I mean, all dealers, the worst thing they're going to say is no. Period. So I mean, like I said, Josh asked and the guy said no. I mean, granted, it was the second day of the show. I mean, really Sunday is when dealers are like, they're wheeling and dealing on a Sunday. They're ready to get rid of that crap because they don't want to take it home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's anywhere you went. BotCon, JoeCon, even Dallas Fan Expo. I'm assuming there were a lot of dealers who were like that. Matter of fact, there were quite a few dealers we saw that had slashed some prices and made some changes. You can see where they marked off different prices because they don't want to pack that stuff up and take it home. They want you to take it home.
I mean, with the Black Series stuff, like you can go into Walmart right now. Their 6-inch Blackline Series stuff is $9.84.
That's exactly right.
$10, and then they were selling them for like, the stuff there for like 25. So even if they paid regular retail, still making a little bit of money off it. But that they got basically their inventory off of them. Walmart putting it at $10, and then like I did, as I went to shop that price around Target and Toys R Us. You guys price match $9.84. That's what I'm paying.
Yeah.
So yeah, they don't like that.
That's their own rules, man. That's the sad part about it, man.
That's why I bought 4 of those exclusive Target ones for $40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because they had their prices down as well. So let's move on to something else here. All right, so someone Star Wars Celebration, someone stole a prototype Boba Fett along with a lot of other stuff. And it so happens that it was the friend of this person, but and we all know of times when someone has stolen things from dealers. There was that one time at BotCon Pasadena where someone stole all those Masterpiece coins. I remember that. Should they be put on blast and blacklisted from all cons? Not just that con, like that happened at Star Wars Celebration. I would assume that they would be blacklisted from that con. If it happened at BotCon, they'd be blacklisted from that con. But if they did it, should they be put on notice? Like, here's the name, and put them on every fan group or whatever it is. Put them on blast. Put them on websites. If it's a Transformer thing, put them on TFW. If it's some Dragon Ball Z thing, put them on that Taku and all that stuff. Like, put them on blast. Here's who they are. Here's their info. They steal stuff at conventions, and just you don't allow them in. Like, that's it. I think I think there's always going to be someone at conventions that try to get away. And if they're like, well, I got blacklisted from this one, so I'll just go to other cons and try stealing shit, like if you just blacklist from every con, and like all the cons came together like, hey, these people are not allowed, I think you start seeing less of that stuff. Plus, who wants to go to a con with a thief?
I 100% agree with that. If you steal from one con, you should be blacklisted, blackballed, whatever.
It's not like if someone steals from Walmart, it's not like, oh, you can't come to this Walmart anymore. Like, oh, well, I'll just go to Target and I would never steal from them. No, you're a thief. You're going to steal from Walmart, Target. You're going to keep on going wherever you can because you're a thief.
You're right. I mean, if you didn't go to BotCon 2010, Jim One Fan and Brett Megamus, they had it was a counter punch from the Transformer Collectors Club stolen out of their room during a parts sale. I mean, granted, they didn't find out who it was, but they said that if they ever found out who it was, they're going to be blacklisted. I mean, it doesn't matter what fandom you're in or what you collect. You can go from Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, from Transformers, G.I. Joe, to Gundam, to all this oddball stuff. If you steal, plain out, you are a thief. You need to be blacklisted. They need to have your picture up at the door. I mean, honestly, because when you're a dealer and you got hundreds of people walking around, but you see that one person's face, I mean, what's the difference between a person stealing an action figure versus a person writing a hot check? I have grocery stores I go to that have people's checks photocopied up there. It says, do not take checks from these people because they write hot checks. There's no difference between hot checks. Exactly. Damn right. I'm dead serious. I mean, this is a hot topic for me, is that if you steal from me, by golly, everybody is going to hear from here to Jesus that you are a thief and that I will not put up with that and I will not stand up for it. Last year, and you've got me. Oh my God!
Those pizza places. Okay, to just get you calm down a little bit. So
calm me down.
But just like these to-go places or whatever, like you call in some order, like, hey, this pickup, I'm gonna come pick it up. What's your phone number? What's your name? Most of the time they have caller ID, but they're asking phone number and name, because if you end up not showing up and they got that food sitting there, which they basically wasted their money, and you try next week to call in some food, you think they don't have those numbers and stuff written down and those names?
You're right.
They're not going to do, to-go orders for you anymore. You're going to have to go in there, pay before they start cooking it.
And just
same thing.
Same thing. Now that you mentioned that, I had to think about it for a second. Last year at my con, I had one dealer who got a $300 comic book stolen from him. Which, matter of fact, if I'm right, it was I think it was Amazing Spider-Man 300. I think it's the issue number where it was the first issue of which one?
It doesn't matter.
298.
Yes. Venom. That's it. Venom. It was stolen. It was a $300 comic book. It was stolen from a dealer of mine. And unless you have people you got extra people at your booths, or for me personally, I want to have extra volunteers for the sheer fact of, I have from a promoter, I have to protect my dealers, because I don't want that dealer to stop coming to my show because he got one book stolen. So I mean, and I said it in my con last year. You don't want us to find out down here in the South that we found out you're a thief. But we're going to take you out back and we're going to have a long talk. And it's really not going to be a talk. You're a thief. You're going to be blacklisted anywhere. Me personally, like I said, I'm going to scream to Jesus till everyone knows about it. So I want to leave it at that. Greg, you go ahead and talk.
You guys covered this one pretty well. I was just picturing. I started laughing because I was picturing like the old West, like the wanted posters you put outside of the saloon doors, and I knew Josh being in Texas would be all down for that. Like, a nice poster outside.
Instead of wanted, you just put scumbags. They have like mug shots,
Yeah, I agree with you. There's not anything worse. It is my worst pet peeve, and I've got a lot of pet peeves. That one's the absolute worst. And I think it's also because, we're all collectors, so we all have a lot of stuff that we like and stuff that we're into. Man, it's nothing worse than having to spend money and having some lowlife come and steal that from you or your friends. Absolute worst. There's not much worse than that. You might as well just kill me than steal my shit. And like Mike said, if I ever catch you stealing my shit, it's over. That's the end of you.
And it's funny you should mention that, because when I first started doing the shows, and I was, it was me and my wife, and it's like I'm running around doing everything. So I had someone helping me, and they come to find out he was actually pocketing money off of dollar comic books, to mind you. So, at the time, I figured I couldn't catch him doing it, but I figured he did. But I knew he did, because I didn't confront him, but I asked the guy, I'm like, hey, did you buy some books from that guy? He was like, yeah, I gave him $20. I bought 20 books. And then I'm like, well, he didn't give me the money. So, and I knew he was a thief. From the get-go, he was stealing stuff from other stores locally. So
this one for the guy at Star Wars Celebration was a little easier to find out who stole, because he stole a prototype rocket firing Boba Fett.
That's a very rare item too.
There's what is there, like 8 or 9 of those, maybe? I think
not many.
Like 8, like 7, 8 or 9, something like that. No more than 10 documented. That are out there somewhere in the world. This guy happens to have one. Well, it was all on display, probably AFA graded and stuff like that. Your grade. And I would think the grading, like maybe they register that stuff. I don't know. It seemed like that would be something smart to do, but there's documentation following it. So this guy steals it, and then another guy happens to all of a sudden appear with it, and hey, where did you get that? Oh, I bought it from this guy. Chances are there weren't 2 of those at the show. So who did you buy it from? And then you find out it's one of your best friends. It's like, okay, there's a lot of red flags here.
Oh, you're right.
And then, so that's how they found out it was this guy. And then it came to find out that he had stolen, tens of thousands of dollars worth of other stuff from him too. So
that's insane.
Like show props or movie props and stuff like that. It was crazy.
When you have something that rare, being that one Boba Fett, where in their right mind were they thinking that they were going to get away with that? That makes no sense.
There's no way you could sell that and it not make some news, because anytime that one of those transactions happens with one of those figures that cost well over $10,000, and something that's that demanded by like rich Star Wars fans, they're going to know about it, and it's going to be, all over the websites and internet and stuff like that. So there's no way you could do it, I guess, unless you go on that dark web that people like to talk about. It can work, but
all in all, you steal from one fandom, you're going to steal from all of them. It doesn't matter what it is.
That's
Period.
what I think. So I think that they should be. You find out, you put their name out there, because they do this in I know in Transformer groups and stuff like that. If someone's like, hey, I'll sell you this or whatever, and then they end up, taking their money and not sending them the stuff, like they'll be blacklisted on that Transformer group. But kind of my question is, do they share that information with all Transformers groups? Because I figure there's probably a ton of them out there. It'd be kind of hard. That, because if they're going to screw someone over in this Transformer group, they're probably going to screw someone over in another Transformer group, and it doesn't cost them anything to go from one to the other, So that's why I'm saying, like, you can't just blacklist from a con or a group or something like that. It has to be across the board, and it should. And I think that would also deter people from doing it in the first place. You're still going to think some asshole out there is going to get away with it, but I think it'll deter more people. Plus, if someone did get screwed over in one Transformer group or toy group, they go to another, they're already like, nah, you can't come here,
Right. I mean,
we already know what you're about.
Same thing on Facebook. I mean, I know Rick doesn't know about this, but there's a couple of groups, called scammers, and they post people who have scammed, like, hey, I'll trade you this for that, and the person sends theirs, and the other one doesn't send theirs, and they've collected that person's toys, and they go and they block them on Facebook to where they can't message them, and then so all you have is these other groups who report this stuff, and they'll go in and they'll post their Facebook account, they'll post and say, well, they have 7 or 8 accounts. I mean, those are some Class A scammers right there. I mean, that's their livelihood, is to scam people out of toys and money. But I mean, thank goodness that some of the places, unless you send it as PayPal gift, then you're kind of screwed. But if you send it as goods and add the fees, then you're protected. But I mean, if you're trading, I had an opportunity to buy a toy a couple of days ago from a guy, and he asked me to send it as a gift. I was new to the group. I didn't know him. He gave me the big runaround how it'd be 21 days before he could ship it because the money wouldn't be released. And I was kind of like, well,
I hear that from some people. They're like, oh, money's not released. I'm like, what are you talking about? As soon as it hits PayPal, you can transfer it to your bank, and it'll be in your bank in like a day or two.
Now, if you are new to PayPal, yes, there is a 21-day hold.
Well,
if you send it as good. Right. Now, in the newer days, there is rules like that to protect people who do stuff of that nature. So, I mean, it was kind of like he wanted me to send a gift, and I was kind of like, no, I'll add the fees, but then I'll send the $10 as a gift so you can ship it to me. And then within 5 minutes, it was like, oh, well, the other guy's going to pay me now who's the runaround. Okay, fine, whatever. That's fine. No big deal. No sweat off my back. I'll deal with it that way. You just got to pick and choose who you can and can't trust. Sometimes I've taken a risk on sending it as a gift, and and then people have taken a risk on me, and I've sent the item, but the USPS has, messed around, didn't scan the item incorrectly, or something, or was overseas and it took longer to get there than normal, and they're so pissed off about it, they're like, well, we'll just give you my money back. No, give it some time. I mean, you just got to know when to pick and choose your battles on some of that stuff.
All right, well, that's Facebook groups though, but I'm talking about
right. I mean, same thing.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Star Wars topic. Star Wars 6-inch Black Series is releasing several figures in the 40th anniversary that they've done just a few waves ago, if that. Is this a love letter to card collectors or just a cash grab? If it is a love letter, then ask also kind of follow up with this. Why no Darth Maul or Anakin? They go for over $100 if you want to get those. So, what do you guys think? Me, I think it's a cool idea on the card. I think they look nice, but you know what? I've been collecting these damn boxes And now that because I open my figures and I keep the boxes, now I can't stack that stuff. So, you know, it kind of sucks. I would have liked some consistency.
I'll let Rick go because he's more of the Star Wars. I mean, I'll chime in on it because I have a say in this one this time around. But Rick does the this as well.
The Star Wars is always an interesting topic because everybody that watches, whether it's Cybercast or the show, they know that I like Hot Toy stuff and Transformers. Those are kind of my main two. And then I've recently been buying G.I. Joe. But the funny thing is, I probably have more Star Wars than anything else. But I don't. The only thing that's up in the house is the Hot Toys. And I honestly don't know how that happened. I think it was I got back into toys in 1991, and Star Wars was the reason why. And with the Timothy Zahn novel. And as far as collecting it, I feel like I have I have a lot of Star Wars stuff. When the Black Series came out, I thought it was really cool that they were doing the 6. I mean, everybody had anybody that likes comics had gotten a Marvel Legend in their hands and messed with it at that point. And I'd heard people talking, oh man, I wish like Star Wars or G.I. Joe, I wish some of these other brands had the 6-inch kind of elite kind of figure with more articulation and better paint apps and soft goods and all that stuff. So like Josh said, I've been collecting these things in the boxes now. And that was kind of like their big thing is let's come out with this cool, clean, black, red box. And everything is going to be fairly standard unless it's a deluxe pack, but still the same look and feel. And they're even numbered like your Masterpiece Transformers. So it gets kind of complicated. And here come
first either. They were all black with just an orange stripe going down.
Right.
Or actually, it was a blue stripe, then an orange stripe, I believe.
That's correct.
And they didn't number those. And then they started with this, when the Force Awakens hit.
It's complicated. They've created this style and this packaging thing. And it's been a good thing for the most part. There's always, some figures that aren't as good as the others. But for the most part, the Black Series has been pretty well accepted. So now we've got the 40th anniversary, and there's other things that happen with the elimination of the articulation on the 3 1/4 figures and Walmart kind of getting the exclusive. So there's all kinds of little complexities to the Black Series from the smaller stuff and the bigger stuff. And here comes the 40th anniversary and the news that we're going to have carded photos, like the old school vintage stuff. That we kind of had before when they were doing the vintage line, but now they're going to do that for, I guess, some select figures. I don't know if there's an end game to it or if they're popular, if that's what they'll end up going to. I haven't heard a definitive answer on that. But here we are, and I was kind of against it, and I bought Series 1. So I go back to the point that I have more Star Wars than anything else. The problem I have with Star Wars is I am super passionate about Star Wars. If I were to say that I believed in a religion wholeheartedly, 100%, honestly, Star Wars is probably the thing that is closest to my heart when it comes to that type of thing. So I have a problem when it comes to Star Wars in general, but when they take the carded figures and put it back, I was a big fan of the vintage stuff. When they came up with the vintage line, what was it, like 10 years ago, they were doing like the vintage card backs and everything looked like the original stuff. I think I bought all of them, every single one. So I do like it. However, this is just my personal opinion. There's one thing to celebrate a 40th anniversary by doing something cool, which could have been any number of things. I have to believe, because it is Hasbro, and we all collect other things that Hasbro makes. Here's a situation where I believe that the cash grab, as Josh was kind of pointing out, is it a cash grab? I think absolutely it's a cash grab, but it's disguised as a 40th anniversary gimmick. And I bought into it. Obviously, I love Star Wars. I don't know that I'll get every single one, but I knew I wanted the Leia because the Leia actually looks, I mean, everybody's kind of heard by now, Leia looks pretty good for a 6-inch figure, the best that we've gotten. And the R2, like Josh has talked about, it comes with some extra stuff. It's, if you're into R2, You're going to probably pick that one up as well. I definitely didn't need the Han Solo, but I think it looks cool on the card, so I bought it. I would rather everything stay in the boxes and there be like an endpoint, for at least the original trilogy stuff, where at some point, if you wanted to collect it to the endpoint, that's cool. But I'm a big fan of like finishing what you started.
Yeah.
And if they switch to the card backs completely for the Black Series, I will be disappointed. I'm not going to buy all of them on the cards.
Now,
but I also didn't want to hunt. That was the other thing. I'm kind of getting tired of hunting for stuff, and especially like the Black Series stuff.
as far as the what you're talking about is cash grab, I mean, I can see it to a certain degree because me not being a huge Star Wars fan, I have picked up 2 of the 40th, and I've ordered a couple of cases for my wholesaler account to where I can get the doubles out of that for my personal collection. But I mean, it's more the point of it is a cool thing to see a 6-inch figure on a carded back toy or carded back total. Me personally, when we talk about, Josh had mentioned certain characters not getting a 40th line release. If you look back at it, everything they're releasing in the 40th line is within the 40th line, within the 40th year. They're aiming towards the certain, A New Hope is where they're aiming towards the characters from that movie. So when we get to, what would it be? I mean, God knows how many years it'd be down the road that they might do one for, the Phantom Menace or something of that nature. I could see that happening, but they're focusing on Darth Vader, Layla, Han Solo, Luke. I mean,
the original card back.
Exactly.
That's what they're doing. The original card back.
Right. They've sucked me in, and me personally, I am not a Star Wars collector. I enjoy the movies. Me personally, I thought that Rogue One was like, I hate to say it, I think it was the best one of the series that have been out. I mean, it was a good fill-in movie from 3 to New Hope. It was a great fill-in. It sucked on what happened to everybody, but it was a great movie. If I was able to go see a Star Wars movie twice in the movies, it would have been that one, because it was, to me personally, it was good. I enjoyed it. I think what Hasbro's doing with the 40th line is a money grab, but I mean, it's sucking in people like me who does not collect the Black Series whatsoever, who has sucked me into getting the card back stock issues of the certain figures, the Layla, and my plan is to collect the whole 40th line. Ever how hard it is to get, but I mean,
and you're going to keep them on card back, right?
Correct. I will not open mine up.
So see, I am of the collector of, I open my toys,
right?
And like same as Rick said, is you had them all in a box, which I loved. And I love that they weren't some like weird shape like the Marvel Legends where they're just like impossible to stack, to where I think I'm just going to throw those boxes away and, just get all the little extra hands and put them in a gallon Ziploc bag and just put Marvel Legends on it, because you can't do anything with the boxes. The other thing is for the DC collectibles, Batman animated series stuff, their carded stuff, and they come with a ton of extra accessories and hands and stuff, but they're carded, and they're kind of a pain in the ass to mess with as well, to where I'm thinking I need to just do the same thing that I'm going to do with Marvel Legends. The great thing about the Black Series is, as you can see, like I have them here, they're there, they're over there, like boxes are all over the place and stuff. Anyway, but it's very simple that I can just stack them all up, wherever I need to, do them deep, several deep, just as high as I need to. it's consistent, and I know that, hey, every single figure that's on my shelf, if it's not in some exclusive packaging where it came with 2 or 4 figures or a deluxe figure or something like that, as long as it came by itself, I'm gonna have the box for it, and they're all gonna be able to stack up, and I could even put them in order if I wanted to, which I'm too lazy to do that, but it's very simple. Even with the deluxe stuff, or even with the TIE fighters, the boxes, then you're going to have part of the line where it's carded, to where once I'll open these, I've opened the Leia, those aren't going to have boxes. So if I ever wanted to put them all back in their boxes and, like, hey, I'm putting this collection up, I'm going to put something else on display because I've run out of room, whatever the case may be, I'm going to be left over with figures that don't have boxes for them. Yeah, because you're not able to display everything. I know, Rick, you don't have everything on display. There's a bunch of stuff in your garage.
Yeah. The other thing that's weird, too, is if you do decide to sell it at some point, you're going to have to remember, however often they do this, if they do it with the other movies, too. Hey, I know you wanted all these figures, sir. Here are all these, here are the Black Series figures. Now, let me just bring this to your attention. You got to remember this shit. The Leia, the best Leia that they did, you're going to find that Leia over here on this card back that they did for the 40th anniversary. Let me go, it's a hiccup in the lot. Like, I don't like the hiccups. But it's a very smart cash grab, because what they did was I haven't seen them in the stores yet, because my stores around here still have Amazing Spider-Man 2 figures up, but that's another story. True story, by the way. If you want an Electro for $20, I can get you an Electro from 3 years ago. Anyway,
wait, is it are you talking about the movie, or are you talking?
I'm talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Electro as the villain, the movie. Yes.
Oh, Jamie Foxx. Okay, I thought you were talking. Is this Electro any good? The one that came with the Carnage one?
I don't know.
I don't know. I need an Electro. I was also looking. I was like, oh, I need a Black Cat.
Yeah. So my toy stores don't have to do stuff in them, but I haven't seen them on the shelf, but they're huge. So visually, someone like Mike that's not into it can walk down the aisle, and then, holy God, it's like this big version of 1978 right there on the shelf. It's huge. You can't miss them. And it's a visual cue that's different from what you're used to seeing in Star Wars. So it's a very smart cash grab. It works on a lot of different levels. So, I hate them. At the same time, super smart.
Also, the thing with the Leia is, like, you did the box one. Here's the thing with the Leia is those 2 waves. The first one that she came out with, the one that Rick just showed, the first release of her, that wave is the Darth Revan wave, which is the last wave before 40th anniversary wave, which she's in 2 waves, completely different looking figure, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the 40th anniversary's face looks so much better. But that's why I was like, cash grab, I love the R2 in there, and that you even threw some extra stuff in. And I would have bought every 40th anniversary figure if you actually added stuff to them. Like, they came with some extra additional stuff, like I did with R2. Yeah. I bought him because I was like, he comes with extra stuff, and it's different. So it's a type of variant. Your C-3PO, I bought 3 C-3POs because you have the Walgreens exclusive silver leg, and there was a red arm. Well, one red arm is darker than the other, which actually someone that, fan of Shatrdglassjazz actually sent that to me as a gift, so I appreciate that. But I have all 3 C-3POs. I would have bought all 3 of them anyway. Because I buy all the variants and stuff. If they do some weird stuff, then I buy it. But they didn't do that. What this 40th anniversary line? They should have gave me a little bit of something.
It's almost like the Transformers team has been talking to, and we know some of the members of the Transformers team are actually working or have been working on the Star Wars team as well. Some of the same guys. So what's funny is Transformers, they do this all the time. We look at waves of the Titan Return stuff that we love. I mean, half of this last wave were repaints. Well, what did they just give us with the 40th anniversary card backs? Most of them already done them. They put some new parts on R2, made Leia's head better. It doesn't cost them a whole lot. So that's why that, you know, they're learning from the other parts that they're selling, like with Transformers. Look how popular Titan's Return has been. The teams are talking. Hasbro isn't stupid. And now they're figuring out more ways outside of the clones, like the Troopers, army building. They've been doing that for years. Now they're figuring out ways where if there's a special event or an anniversary, we're going to buy 2 or 3 of these things. I will say, like, when you're talking about Black Series, look at that Thrawn that's getting ready to hit at SDCC. Look how amazing that package is. Look how that they figured out how to take their original concept of a higher end Star Wars 6-inch product and putting it in a nice package. Man, that set, I think, for me, that I haven't even held it in my hands, but it's the epitome of the promise that they made when they said we're going to do 6-inch Black Series figures.
So, I mean, there's that one thing SDCC thing that we're going to have to track down. Rick, you know what I'm excited about? Actually, I want this line to continue, but I'm just glad that I don't have to go mess with MattyCollector.com on San Diego Comic-Con with Thunder Kitties and He-Man figures and stuff. Like, oh my God, what a garbage website.
Yeah, that was awful.
It's funny.
Great product, amazing product, but the website and the back end of everything you had to deal with through customer service was not great.
You know, I got that case in today, the Star Wars figures, and the first thing I did was look at the Layla and compared it to the Black Series Layla to the 40th Layla, and I could see the difference in it. But what got me more than anything else was that case was, you know, when they ship me the product, it comes in the actual case from Hasbro.
Right.
And, you know, it had this wave had a street date of November on it. Yeah. So is this toy's been out since November and it's just now able to get our hands on it? Is that true?
Some places like at BBTS where you could order a case, I actually, because I didn't want the case because of it came with Ben Kenobi, and I have the SDC version of, you know, Obi-Wan, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't need that one. And I was like, while I don't need him, I want all the rest, but I want 3 AT-AT drivers and I want 3 snow troopers. So I ended up ordering those off of Hasbro Toy Shop or Toy is that the website? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I ended up ordering off there, but they didn't have Sabine or Darth Revan. So I just constantly waited, and they never got them in stock. Like if they did, they got them in stock for like 5 seconds. They were gone. Eventually, they got a Sabine in, and then I passed on it because I ended up actually finding it at Toys R Us. So. Yeah, but that it's been hard to find that wave. That's been one of the harder waves, I believe, to find. Nothing was doubled up. I think it was all sport packed.
It's probably the
I've
last
only seen
wave.
a few of them.
What's up?
They've been out for a long time. They've been out for a very long time. I've only seen, I think I saw like part of the wave once, but I have yet to, and I don't go in the stores all the time. I don't like to hunt a whole lot, but like last week I went in the stores 3 times. Walmart and Target. Toys R Us I don't do as often, but I do go. I haven't seen any snow troopers, AT-AT drivers, no Revans, no Sabines. I feel like they've been out for what, 5 months, 4 months?
November.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to me.
All right. How long have we been going?
I think that's
about an hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to save the rest of these, and we just call this one
yeah, I feel good.
Toy convention.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, we do have someone coming on, a guest for next Galactic Gumbo, so that'll be followed by Cybercast. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, since we do it bi-weekly. But Rick, you want to go ahead and announce the guests for Cybercast, and maybe we'll start trying to get, or not Cybercast, but Galactic Gumbo. Maybe we'll start trying to get more guests on.
Yeah, and just to, if you guys have watched, or if you haven't watched, and this is your first Gumbo, we've had a few other folks on here. Josh has gotten some of the guys from Near Mint Condition. And also we had Jason Duvall from Toy World Order at some point too. They were fun episodes for us, and hopefully all the listeners liked it as well. One of the things that we all have in common is most of our one of our main hobbies is Transformers. So there's kind of two things that we've been talking about. One, Josh had brought up the idea of a hot topic right now is kind of YouTube reviewers and how things are kind of changing, and it's definitely been a hot button item the last few months, especially the last 60 days. But also, I know I've been following this guy for a long time, and he's a local guy, and we're friends. But before that, I've been watching his reviews and using his reviews all the time. So we're going to have Piog on here. I think it's May 13th. So not next week, but the following week. And I know we're very excited to have them on as a special guest.
All right, so we'll work through that. If you guys have any questions and stuff, I'll probably make a post on Facebook, on my Facebook page, and be like, hey, if you have any questions, post them here, and then that way I can kind of read some of those off, and we'll have some questions as well. Try to make it a really good interview and discussion for you guys. So, Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you, man? And so. You got a con just 3 weeks away?
Yeah, 3 weeks. Y'all can find me on Twitter as BotConFan1978, and then also on YouTube. You can catch me next week on Just Another G.I. Joe show here on YouTube as Autobot City Toys with a Z. And then in 3 weeks, we'll be having my show in Arkansas called Little Rock Comic Con. We got a lot of guests scheduled. You can find it at lrcomiccon.com, and you can find me on Facebook as well.
All right, Rick.
And you can find me, I'm pretty active too, on Twitter as Shatrdglassjazz.
All right, and you guys can find me, G1Xtron, on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages, the G1Xtron. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. And sorry about the Cybercast, got split up, but had tech issues there. Google crashed on me. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.